Love you, Linda. Love you.
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing "Oh Happy Day."
One word prayer. Justice, where are you?
That's a very good. Where are we?
Where are we?
I was watching the Open, and again saw, of course, Alan Jackson. I love you, Linda. Blah blah. And then I started thinking, he's going to be on for a brief moment. Day after tomorrow, Saturday night,
Right.
with Aidan Carney. Very interesting, massaging of what he's going to get to talk about. We don't know. We know he just signed a deal with a company, a movie deal. He and Karen as a package. So maybe it'll be a formal announcement of that, but whether he's going to get into any substance, who knows? But it'll be interesting. I think it's 9:00 Saturday night on the Aidan show.
Aidan announced it by saying Alan has something he wants to say.
Yeah. So it just sounds like it's very narrowly tailored. I don't know why or what it is. I'm sure we'll get our chance to chat with him when the time is right. But
right.
Anyway, I keep reading stuff, about people. They want to move on, but they can't from this Karen Reed case. And maybe
they don't want to move on. They don't want to move on. Okay, no one wants to move on.
To some degree, where I even saw Doug Weinstein posting saying the jury's spoken. It was like, get over it, move on. But we're humans, and with the investment made by so many people over such a long period of time, you can't just rip it off. You can't just rip the Band-Aid off. So we've tried to propel forward, as we did earlier this week with Michael Easter, and talking about some of the different witnesses and how what we learned from them could help us as, folks who like to watch true crime and various trials and various witnesses. So who knows? Maybe it'll be helpful. Maybe it won't. But tonight we have a very special edition, but you say that every time and pretty soon it doesn't really mean much. But we do have a very special edition because this is kind of an interesting look into Canton as it stands. It's a real town and they have real people and they have real issues. But even the citizens there can't really get past what has been happening because while they see it as a good sign, they believe there's a lot of corruption in the trilogy of terror of Dedham, Stoughton, Canton. They think that this trial's verdict is a good sign. They think that the replacement of the chief of police is a good sign, but they still have concerns, and so they show up at the Canton Select Board meetings. So I want to go through this meeting, the most recent meeting, which was about a week after the verdict, and just hear at that point what people had to say. First, let's look at the introductory remarks from the board, which has a interestingly vacant seat, which you'll never guess who didn't show up, who's on the select.
Chloe?
Chris Albert.
I was close.
Chris Albert, you're very close. You're in the same family. Same family.
Same family. Has Chloe ever showed up? And this is exactly why people can't move on. There's so much going on here, which we'll see. There's so much still left to go on, which Sandra Birchmore, which we'll talk about on our show coming up. And this is exactly why people can't move on. Also, there's an unsolved crime here, as the Karen Reed people are saying. If you believe Karen Reed is not guilty, which the jury has spoken, and they said she's absolutely 100% innocent for the people that have spoken.
Yeah, so, and that does not give any justice to the O'Keefe family, no matter how they want to delude themselves into thinking that she's the one and she got away with murder. The real perpetrators are out there, and there's been plenty of evidence suggesting who they might be, but we don't know because the investigation was such crap. So anyway, let's dip into the Canton Select Board meeting. We'll hear some introductory remarks, then we'll hear from the citizens. What you'll learn, listen to these introductory remarks, in terms of think of it in terms of the openness that the goal of one of these meetings should be, right? Citizens, you have a voice. Well, I mean, do you really have a voice? I'm not so sure about that. So let me see if I can bump that up a little bit. Hold on. Come on. I'll re-rack if necessary. So let me see that. There's the audio. There we go. Okay. So again, this is the.
Good evening, everybody.
Here we go.
Welcome to the Select Board meeting of very loud.
of June 24th, 2025 at the Sala Meeting Room, Memorial Hall, 801 Washington Street, Canton. Just want to let you know this is being recorded by Canton Community Television this evening, and it can be viewed at later dates also. The first thing on our agenda is the public comment. I'll read a statement before public comment, and then we'll go right into it. The public comment portion of the meeting is an opportunity to listen to the residents' feedback and concerns, but the public comment portion of the meeting is not meant to be a question and answer format. There will be no response to any public comment when presented. The public comment portion of the meeting is limited to 15 minutes total and 3 minutes per speaker. I would encourage those that do wish to speak to be mindful of others in the room who wish to do the same, so that we can make the most of the time allotted and hear from as many people as possible. Anyone who does not wish to speak or is unable to speak to the time limit may submit their comments in writing to the board's review and consideration. So we have a pretty good agenda.
Can we stop
this
it right
evening.
there?
Oh, please. Yeah. So just to get the ground rules down.
I was counting on my hands.
Are you running out of fingers there?
No.
I thought you were
3
having another one of
minutes.
your sign language
No.
issues. Yeah, I did the math too. 5 times 3, 15 minutes, right? That 15-minute max,
And
3
that's
minutes
all-
per person,
right.
5
That's
people.
5 people. If they'll take 3 minutes, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Fine.
Oh, well, I can see the problem rising already.
I mean, and this is not a Q&A format, so don't even think about asking these community leaders about their plans to fix some of the things you might be concerned about. No, this is like it's like a therapy session where, the therapist just sits back and says, well, how do you feel about that? And, and nothing gets done. So, and you're going to recognize, I think the second woman up, you're going to recognize. So let's get back into the mix here. Hold on a second. There we go.
It's really hot, so let's all be patient and get through it, okay? We'll start with, Brenda, would you like to start? Okay.
Brenda Sweeney, Canton. Fact, absolutely not shattered. Now we find justice for Officer John O'Keefe. Mr. McCourt released a statement and is encouraging us to move forward together. Finally, a timely statement from our board. Now my humble opinion. Not hit by a car means we have at least one killer running free in town, a wolf in sheep's clothing. As a matter of fact, I think we might have a whole pack. Moving forward means recognizing what happens in this town. To quote attorney Mark Betterow, Canton is like an outpost for the Southie mob. Maybe you haven't been affected yet, but there's nothing civilized about Canton. Our kids are being threatened to keep their families quiet and in line. People ride by shouting threats and obscenities, taking pictures of the cars in our driveway, spitting in our yards, tossing chemical bombs on our property. And just so we're clear, these strong-arm tactics have been town has been running for years, way before Karen Reed ever stepped foot in Canton. If we keep sweeping things under the rug, it's only a matter of time before we end up with yet another man down in the snow. Last Friday, 2 people were charged with picketing because that direct line to Helena and the Canton Police Department still exists, even after that fake apology tour. Richie's sign asking Mr. Albert to resign, and Eric's sign saying, I love Canton on one side and keep Pappas open on the other, both punished for loving this town. Why is it one of our select board members is allowed to continually weaponize the law, claiming he's intimidated? Intimidated by what? The words resign and I love Canton? Seriously? Where's the boogeyman here? Another lawsuit, another waste of taxpayers' dollars. Thanks again, Mr. Loughran. I pray our new chief's a Barros, not a Dever, but if you think a new chief will fix everything, you're wearing blinders. There's no magic carpet right here. We can't sweep everything else under the rug. We've scraped the surface, but we haven't gotten to the belly of the beast. And don't kid yourself, it's a beast. Normal here is killers running free, animal cruelty, bribery, extortion, threats, bullying and intimidation, and God knows what else. We're subject to coercion and intimidation. Do not whitewash what's going on. It's dangerous here. We need to move forward, but we're not buying a bigger rug to do it. You're out of your ever-loving mind if you think we're going to sit here pretending none of this happens. And don't fall for that pity party ABC's hosting either. Before the winds of change can sweep through our streets and improve the quality of our lives, we need to first acknowledge the ugly truth about what really goes on in Canton. Then we need to empty the trash. We'll be back with the trash truck.
Whoa,
So well written and
Whoa.
delivered, right? So nice.
perfect.
Yeah. So
Whoa.
that's how the meeting gets going. And to pick up some of her references, they were arrested or threatened for picketing at an event with those signs. I love Canton.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Picketing with
yeah.
the signs, I love Canton?
I love Canton.
We
yeah.
are living in an Alice in Wonderland type world up there, and no wonder they're still upset, and no wonder no one can move forward, and no wonder no one wants to move forward, and no wonder Karen Reed was such a big deal.
Yeah, and so this woman, Gail, obviously not her first appearance as the head of the board, knows her by first name. Gail, you want her to go? And so she's beating that drum over and over again. She's making it clear to anybody who will listen that we got problems. We got big problems here. And just because this verdict came in acquitting Karen Reed, 95% of her anyway, with the OUI conviction.
Well, that's
John
only
O'Keefe's-
because everybody there that night should have been convicted of.
Well, yeah,
OUI,
I mean that
too.
sounds like every
mean,
Saturday night in Canton is what it sounds like. Cops and everybody else, and again, we've talked about it in retrospect. Was that smart? And I talked to member Aiden when he popped into our compound there in Dedham, and he wasn't so sure it was smart for the defense to ask for that standalone charge. I thought it was pretty darn smart because of the ability to give somebody something to cling to if they felt she was guilty of something. And it seems to me that's exactly what turned out. We'll never know if that charge was not added, what would have happened. We'll never know. But I can't believe that they had an immediate 12 guilties on the OUI. I think they sifted, sorted, mixed things around, and then finally
And they
ended up
probably did
down
what
there.
you and I did, and some of our viewers did. Why her? Why her? Just because she got charged with the other things unfairly and wrongly? Why not everybody else? And you already saw the cops drinking on the job for the Canton audience. So why? And I think that's probably the discussion that happened.
No doubt about it. Relative deprivation is always a pain in the ass, But what about him? What about them? What about those guys? Especially when you're talking about cops, right? The cops are getting off. She's sucked into this vortex, and now this OUI is kind of being used as a major compromise. So, however it all evolved, the right result came out, and I think it was smart to put that in there. So, did you notice? I'll bring this back up again before we roll the next person to see if you can spot anybody in line there. Can you spot anybody in line that looks familiar? There's 3 women standing up. The woman who just spoke, Gail.
Yeah, it looks like another Gail. Could that be another Gail? I can't see.
I'll give you a hint. Bus driver.
Oh yes, okay, I know
Been
who
on
that
our
is.
show
Right.
a few
Yes,
times,
yes,
Christine?
yeah, Christine.
Yeah.
Right. That's
So
Christine. Okay, she's got her head down, so it's
she's
kind of
looking
hard
at her
to see.
phone, probably getting her
Yeah.
notes ready to go.
Yeah.
And so, and there was what in the wide shot you can see maybe 15 people there. I hope that these things get viewed many, many times on the replay, and obviously on shows like ours that take the time to devote to letting the real citizens of Canton, be heard. Because it's too bad. I mean, these people are serious, and I don't get the impression she's some sort of whack job. I mean, she seems well reasoned. She's got all of this evidence and a lot of passion. So let's go back in and see who's next.
All set.
He said all set. Did you hear that?
Hi.
Right.
My name is Carol Kelly, and I live on Maple Street.
Or they're going back and forth the other way.
Because of the serious nature of a recent incident that happened to me, I finally feel the need to make a public statement about the retaliation I've received for speaking up for Karen and John for the past 2 years. The cyberbullying, harassing phone calls, drones going by bedroom windows after midnight, truck being broken into, being on a list of Canton's 10 most menacing citizens, guys yelling traitor big mouth out of car windows are all things that I've never made public. It's unfair that I have to leave town to get my jogs in and go to stores and libraries. I shouldn't have to do that. I have cameras everywhere now, which shouldn't be necessary. I live in constant fear. It's not right. I have to have someone with me at all times. This is Canton, my safe little town for 5 generations on my dad's side of the family. But this new situation is beyond acceptable. 3 anonymous neighbors reported me for dealing drugs to get me
Oh.
evicted and out of Canton. The funny thing is I've never touched a drink, never mind a drug. And it just so happens that I have 2 retired Canton police officers who say Karen is guilty and a select board member living in my complex. I've never bothered any of the witnesses. I've always been respectful. I've only said Karen is innocent and we need to find out what caused John's death, and we still do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael, can we clip that
is
and replay that? Can we clip that somehow, because it's public, and replay that on our show and our X account? And I want to find her and bring her on here. I mean, I want to cry.
She's so brave. Look at all the things she's suffered. She's never said anything publicly. Now she has. So, I hope we're helping more than we're hurting by, further exposing what she had to say, because what she has gone through is unbelievable. It's like a bad movie where you're in a town where a bunch of thugs run the town. And if you happen to say something they don't agree with, then they're all over you. Drones flying by your window at night. I experienced the being followed late at night when tracking, the path from 34 Fairview to One Meadows. That's nothing compared to this kind of stuff for one of their own. It's outrageous.
Outrageous. I really want to find her. I want to bring her. The only way to keep her safe is to keep her voice loud, okay, and to give her support and let everyone give her support. And you talk about people getting arrested for intimidation. Where are the police with regard to this poor woman? I mean, really, where are they? I mean, and let's not let Karen Reed go away. Let's not let this discussion go away, because if we let it go away, then these people suffer in silence for a long time more.
Yep, as we've said from the beginning, the Karen Reed case was a symptom. This disease is rampant, and these people are the victims of that. And this town, and I'll throw Dedham in there as well, because with the trial in Dedham, more time was spent there. They're very close. They're all touching, Stoughton, Canton, Dedham. And on a Friday, the first Friday of the deliberations, the only Friday of the deliberations, they couldn't come to a decision, so we were getting ready, got to come back Monday. They had a little parade. I think it was on the eve of Flag Day, right? The verdict came down on the 18th. Flag Day, I think it's the 14th. So it was that weekend. They have families with kids in strollers, and they're all kind of right where we had our little compound, right at the crossroads there with the courthouse behind us, and the great pastry shop and the pizza place right there. So great location. And so it was all unfolding right in front of me as we were wrapping up. It was just quintessential small town, good times, family fare. And it was nice to see that in the, if you remove yourself from the circus that was going on just up the street. So let's see. I do believe that our friend will be
Kristen
next.
Anderson,
Yeah.
Canton.
Kristen
I know
Anderson.
I'm not able to ask questions, but my statement I'm going to form as a question, which is, when is Mr. Albert going to stop using the police department as his personal security system? It's not fair. Anyone that even looks at D&E gets a charge.
Okay, just some foundation here for those who may not remember. Christine's been on a couple of times, and I've run into her on the street there in Dedham as well. She's a bus driver, and early on, remember before the opening of the First Amendment zone, when it was really clamped down, she was driving her bus from the route she would normally take to get the kids, and it's a main street. High Street is where the courthouse is, so it's very busy in a normal day, on a normal day. So she's going by, and they were really getting upset, the cops, the Massachusetts State Police, if people would honk, beep, 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 anything that would show support for Karen Reed. And that was specifically mentioned in the buffer zone order, both the first one and the second one, until we got that fixed with the federal cases. So she was wandering by. One of the stateies told her to stop right where she was. Excuse me. She was in a bus with no kids, just in the bus. Stop right where you are. So she stops, and he's ragging on her, telling her, stop being disruptive. You're not supposed to be doing that. And this was before the trial. This was during some pre-trial activities. As she's getting a tongue lashing from this one officer, another guy comes in and cites her because she stopped in the crosswalk. It's right there, the main crosswalk between the Registry of Deeds and the courthouse.
Which she had to plead guilty for. because she was in the crosswalk.
Yeah, and she was, but at the direction of the cops. Anyway, so that was just one encounter. She's had others since. She was going by the courthouse one day, and she sees Tom DeRozier, my co-plaintiff in one of the federal cases. He's out there animatedly talking to this woman. Not sure if they were having a beef or just passionate. She just leans out the window and basically gives them, like a encouragement to Tom. The cops pull her over and say that she was threatening the cops
Oh my
by
gosh. I know we had
showing
her
this
on to
fist out the
talk-
window.
We had her on to talk about that. That was
So
outrageous.
that's her background, and it makes it's important to get context to why she's suggesting that a select board member is using the cops as his own kind of private force. So okay,
Wait a second. Window
Yeah.
intimidation. Let's remember that. Window intimidation.
yes,
Okay.
window and fist. What a weird combination. Okay.
It's got to stop. We're not here, or the police department is not here to serve Chris Albert. And obviously he's not here because, the charges just happened. But it's ridiculous. I pay taxes, unlike him. And he's just allowed to do whatever the hell he wants. We're not going to stop until he stops. This is freaking ridiculous. He needs to go. And what's it going to take? Another dead person? Like, seriously. I'm not going to go out and harass anybody or get trolled or troll anyone, but I guarantee you my name is going to be slandered all over Twitter tomorrow. So have at it, people. Slander away. Call me fat. Call me a dude, whatever. But he's got to go.
Thank you.
All right. So obviously, personally, a problem for Christina because she's experienced it, and it is interesting that Chris Albert's doesn't even care enough to show up at the meeting. And these folks, I couldn't quite put select board, into the context of where are they? Is that a city council? Is it is it town representatives, supervisor? Where is it? Well, they run the show. I mean, they control the police force. They make the payments to the cops, hire them, fire them, firemen. Any of the services that the citizens need goes through the select board. So they are extremely powerful.
We're going to be together, so
Are you guys good?
you want to go ahead? Sure.
So I absolutely never wanted to be up at this
Just
mic.
give your name, please.
Sorry, yeah. My name is Ashley Bell. I'm on Dedham Street. I never wanted to be up here at this mic. Unfortunately, I was on the witness list for both Karen Reed trials and in the ongoing Birchmore case, and that sucks. I only stress this because, like Chris Albert, I too am a witness. I've also experienced harassment where people have showed up at my house, recorded me, screamed into my windows, spread vile rumors about me. And I will say that I feel for Chris Albert and Colin Albert, and what's happened to them, I think is disgusting. And I feel terrible for them in that regard. So I went to the Canton police with real evidence, and I learned there's a very specific criteria that has to be met before they can act. And when it doesn't quite fit that box, even if it's very threatening, you're on your own. This week, I noticed a drastic difference in how people are protected in town. When an attention-starved kook dances in the middle of a public street, apparently that warrants watchful patrol time. I asked the officer about it, and all he could say is, "Chief told me to." He didn't know why or how long he was there for. Canton kids should always be protected from weirdos. But I guess a violent felon and a deranged mom down the street don't warrant the same protection for my kids, as it fell just under the legal red tape, which is about 3 incidents of harassing behavior and whatever. My family was not granted that protection. Our police were audited, and while I raised my eyebrow at the thought of ex-cops investigating our cops, I read the entire report, I went to the presentation, and I felt a sense of relief that our town's police department showed no signs of obvious corruption, and I thought that was a good thing. One thing that stuck out was the grievances of our officers. Some were callous and cocky, but most of them were disheartening. In a perfect world, we trust our police, and our police trust, protect, and serve us equally. If Canton police want the public to trust them, and they want to show us good faith, why the hell would they put up a one-way mirror in the lobby? Has anyone been inside lately? I have twice, and it's extremely intimidating and unnerving. It's the literal opposite of transparency. Even if some annoying YouTube grifter from out of town comes in and fills them, even if busybodies with nothing better to do than to come into the lobby and ask for record requests, the one-way mirror in our tax-funded public building, where trust is extremely fragile in our town, is unacceptable. What's wrong with being able to see our officers and sergeants? Why are they terrified of us? Trust and transparency is not optional, and the favoritism has to stop. Chris Albert is a witness and is still considered a witness, and he's afraid of people that he serves as a select board member holding signs, even if they're desperate for attention, even if they're rubbing salt in our wound and constantly mistaking stupidity for malice. Chris Albert, of all people, has always been a proud American, calls the police when they come running to him over a crowd of people across the street with a combined IQ of 8.
Thank you.
I have more to say, but
Thank you very much.
So there's the imposition of the 3-minute rule. 3-minute rule.
It is 3 minutes, like federal court.
I'm-
Go ahead.
so-
You're done.
I'm a little confused by her position because
Mhm.
it sounds like she supports the police on one front, and she referenced the audit, which when
Right.
we talked about it here, I called it the clown hall meeting. So they have all these retired and former cops judging the current cops and finding, and she agrees with, no corruption. Hey, great, there's no corruption, which I think is kind of naive, because if you dig down into the individual things they found, I don't know how you come to that conclusion. You may have no conclusion, but I don't know how you come to a there's no corruption conclusion. And as
Well, I think somebody wants to believe. They want to believe in their police. They want to.
and I think that Pollyanna-ish approach is great if you're not slapped in the face every day with the opposite. She references Chris Albert not being there, but also feels sorry for him and the Albert family for the intimidation that they have suffered. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know where she walks. It's kind of the middle of the road, where she believes her things could be done, better transparency, better belief by the police and the people they're supposed to serve, and yet not really coming down on the powers that be, which would include the select board.
Right. So we'll see. I mean, she certainly came out to speak, and whatever side she's on, I'm glad she spoke. I mean, quite frankly.
I'd like to talk to her more to find out what. And she says she's a witness, and I haven't researched her name enough. I didn't get a chance to do that to see where she falls in the mix. She didn't testify.
I could not tell you the spelling of what she said, so it was fast.
Yeah, have to do some further research on that. Okay, let's see who else. What else we have here? Got to stay within those time limits, though, folks. Don't go crazy.
I'm Reverend Dr. Michelle Walsh from the First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm the lead minister, and this is Kitty McGregor, our congregational president.
And why are we not seeing
the
you?
first thing we want to do is invite everyone to the Juneteenth event that the Canton Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee is putting on, and we are very proud to host it at the First Parish. We also thank the town generally for all their support of what we've been doing in terms of our public witness on the front lawn. We also wanted to come today because, as you can see, there are different experiences people have with different people. We have had a very positive relationship with Chief Helena Rafferty, and we just wanted to say that also for the record. She was very helpful at a time when a member of my congregation felt very threatened in a certain situation, and she took action, and we were we feel in a very supportive relationship, including around our public witness. So we do want to say that, recognizing that there's diversity of opinion here and different experiences, and we do sincerely hope for fresh start and healing as Canton moves forward, including with a new person that you're going to be appointing as an interim police chief. And Kitty wanted to say a few words.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kitty McGregor, and I serve proudly as the president of First Parish Unitarian Universalist. And I'm glad to be here because I am feeling what you are feeling and how diverse we see each other. But I want to point out to you that First Parish Unitarian Universalist has been here for 1825 forward with open arms and open hearts and open minds. And we stand on our principles of equality and acceptance and involvement and love for everybody. And this group needs that love. I love Canton. I'm not involved at that level with what I'm hearing and seeing now. But I am in love with First Parish Unitarian Universalists because we accept all opinions, all diversity, all the anger, all the pain, all the love that this town can generate. And I believe in us. I believe in this town. And I know we will get through this. I don't know how, but our hearts and our minds and our love is open.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was nice.
Is
That
there anything else?
I mean,
It's very nice. I mean,
very nice. Right.
I think as attorneys sometimes, especially when we get involved with situations that are less than positive, it's easy to be cynical and maybe a little less hopeful. But it's nice, this is the woman who heads the church, and she's hoping that people can move on past this. I think they got a few more things to handle before they move past it. But I appreciate the thought and her belief that it's going to happen. I think that's nice.
I'm for that.
And you can tell her positivity. I think not just from this meeting, but from having been up there plenty. It's in the minority. Let's put it that way. Those that are most vocal are not as hopeful as this church leader is. So who knows? So the rest of the board meeting is basically what you hear at board meetings. Yeah, we're going to have a picnic on Saturday. I mean, all of those, small town USA kind of charming things, which is great.
Right.
But I think my concern about this meeting and the format is to what end? Yeah, you get to vent for 3 minutes, no more. But they're not giving you any sort of encouragement or feedback to suggest that they give a rip what you say.
Right. That's the problem.
All right, then. Well, I think they do these maybe every other week. Certainly it's at least once a month, but maybe every other week. Anyway, we'll keep our finger on the pulse of this Canton Select Board. Chris Albert, they're trying to bounce him off the board as well. We know that there was a gentleman, Mr. Connolly, who had been on there forever, and he lost his seat. And the night he did was kind of, it was a shocker. He could not believe he had been replaced.
And he'd been replaced by a woman, which brings me to my point, Michael. I was watching. Did you see any men get up and speak?
Nope. I saw a lot of them hunkered down in their seats, which is curious, isn't it?
Courageous women, right? Got up and spoke.
Are the men afraid because it is mostly the men, Alberts, etc., that are pulling the strings? And if the guy thinks he's going to get, some sort of retribution by speaking his mind, so he's not going to do it. I don't know.
I just point that out. That isn't it curious and curiouser that we saw all the women in front of the courthouse with men too in support of Karen Reed. But here, when it comes to pointing out problems and pointing out the harassment that they've suffered, whereas no action has been taken against anyone for any of the harassment those women talked about, right? It's the women who speak. And yes, if you have window intimidation, well, then you're protected.
Yeah. So, and I think to your point about the crowd, and it was nice to have a crowd there. It really was. I don't want to gloss over that because it would have been a whole different experience without that crowd there. It's probably 80% women, probably. And that's not to say that men don't understand the issues, the challenges, the problems, but women obviously closely relate to Karen Reed, because anybody could say, but for the grace of God, that could be me. But it's easy for a woman to say that, it's just human nature. And so I would be very interested to see if this happened and the defendant was a man, to see how the dynamic would have changed, how the investigation would have changed, right? What if it had been just Brian Albert somehow, however that evolved? What a different scenario it would be. What a different reflection of the town it would be.
Yeah. And I asked the question again that I asked starting out, where's Chloe
Chloe.
Albert?
Oh,
For
poor
people that
Chloe.
are missing from the town hall Board of
Chloe's-
Selectmen meeting.
Yeah, Chloe's gone. I think Chloe's gone, which may be best for Chloe.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, we're going to hope that this community and the adjoining communities can move on, but with Birchmore clinging, with Aidan Carney's case coming to some sort of head, it has to. We'll be up there. It's really not too far off. A few days from now, on the 7th,
Right.
he's got a hearing that relates to the remaining cases against him. We're not sure what's going to happen. We're not I'm so cynical about it that I don't think that reasonable minds will prevail. I just don't, because reasonable minds would just, can we just get rid of the rest of this mess? Because I've already dismissed, I think it was 5 of the charges. The rest should go.
They absolutely should. And you'll be there, and we'll be covering it. And we'll be watching to see Alan Jackson and Aiden show on Saturday night. And in the meantime, there's going to be a lot of fireworks around, which is going to completely destroy a lot of animals in the wild, a lot of eagle nests, like babies of birds right now, and all something that, in Europe, a lot of the people that do fireworks, a lot of the countries that do fireworks, or towns or counties or whatever, do silent fireworks. And if you're going to do them, I'm all for that.
Like lights
No sound.
and stuff?
Yeah, all lights and stuff, but no
Oh,
sound. Or you
interesting.
can have drone shows and celebrate the 4th of July. But in any event, I guess it's happy 4th of July. And let's hope.
Yeah, thanks for that downer. Thanks a lot.
Well, I just want to make sure that,
let me go burn my sparklers. Throw them in the pool. Okay.
The sparklers are okay. The sparklers, they don't make noise.
That's true. It's all gunpowdery. And every state is very different. Connecticut allows some, but I can't tell what they do or don't do.
And that's
New York,
on the
nothing.
Nothing. That's the not the fireworks, but that's the what do you call them?
They don't shoot things in the air. That's generally the difference.
Right.
But you go to Pennsylvania, and it's like it's like an artillery outpost. I mean, the stuff they have, it's unbelievable. And that stuff's not cheap. Now we know why our defense budget is so high. So if you're going to celebrate the 4th, safe and sane, and as every parent has said, you could lose a finger playing with those things. So don't play with those firecrackers or M80s or cherry bombs or any of those
That's
other
what I was thinking
things.
about, the M80s. Yeah.
The M80 quarter stick of dynamite, that will take off a couple of fingers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know about the drone show. I'm not sure I've warmed up to that yet. It's so creepy. I'm fascinated by what they can create with those
the
programs.
computers, right? The computer programs,
man.
right? Wow, it's amazing, right?
Yeah, I'm not so sure I'm ready to wholesale swap out the fireworks for the drones, but maybe let them in the mix.
Okay.
All right. Okay, then. I guess we'll do something again after the holiday. But
Well, I'll see you Monday. You'll be up in Canton, so
yeah,
we'll see you,
I'll be
you'll
heading
see you
up
Monday.
there.
Or
All right,
Dedham, or
partner.
Stoughton, or wherever his hearing is going to be. I get where's his hearing going to be?
It's
Dedham?
going to be the same court. It's going to
Okay.
be, and I think this will be a challenge. I might be able to actually get physically in the courtroom. I don't know. I've been banned by Jennifer. Jennifer, hey, she's at the Media Credentials office in Boston. She doesn't like me. I don't like her, and so we'll see if it plays out. But I'll be up there in the area, and we'll be covering it.
We'll be
All right,
up there
guys.
for you.
Have a great holiday weekend. I'm Michael Bryant, and try to do the right thing.
And I'm Linda Kenny Bod. But before you go, please hit that subscribe, share, like, and notify button, and you'll hear from us when we're on next.